Did you know that not all taxes are inevitable and some can be legally avoided? That's right, it's time to debunk some tax myths. Let's start with the biggest myth out there. All taxes are unavoidable. Quite the contrary, folks. With a little thing called tax planning, you can legally sidestep some taxes. Think of tax planning as a game of chess, where each move is calculated to minimize the taxes you owe, while staying within the bounds of the law. It's not a magic trick, but a strategic process. Now don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for tax evasion, which is illegal and can lead to serious penalties. Rather, I'm talking about understanding the tax laws and using them to your advantage. So, before we dive into the new tax laws, remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to taxes. Now let's reveal the mysteries of the 2024 tax changes. In the whirlwind of life, tax changes can sneak up on us, like that sneaky sock that always seems to vanish in the laundry. This year, the tax world has been shaken up like a snow globe with some significant changes that could affect your wallet. First up, we have a new tax bracket structure. The government decided to give the brackets a bit of a facelift, adding a couple of new ones. Now, we've got a total of 7 tax brackets, each with its own unique tax rate. This can feel like trying to juggle flaming torches, but don't worry. We'll help you figure out which bracket you fall into. Next, we have an increase in the standard deduction. This is like finding an extra $20 bill in your pocket. It means you get to subtract more money from your taxable income before the taxman comes knocking. So, you could potentially owe less tax, which is a win in anyone's book. Then there's the child tax credit. The government decided to play fairy godmother and increase the amount you can claim for each qualifying child. This could be a game changer for many families, making it easier to balance the books. And finally, we have the introduction of a new tax credit for energy-efficient home improvements. Think solar panels, insulation, and energy-efficient windows. It's like the government's way of saying, thanks for caring about the environment, here's some money. These changes might seem like you're trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded. But remember, change isn't always a bad thing. It can open up new opportunities and lead to unexpected benefits. These changes might seem overwhelming, but don't worry, we're here to break them down for you. Change is the only constant, especially with tax laws. But how different are the 2024 tax laws from previous years? Well, let's dive right in and find out. Think back to 2023. The tax brackets were adjusted for inflation, but the tax rates remained the same. Pretty straightforward, right? But now, in 2024, we're seeing some significant shifts. The tax brackets have been reshuffled, and the rates have undergone a dramatic revision. In the past, there were 7 tax brackets, now we're looking at 8. Yes, you heard it right, 8 tax brackets. This extra bracket is designed to spread the tax burden more evenly across income levels. Then there's the standard deduction. Remember how it was a flat amount regardless of your filing status? Not anymore. Now the standard deduction varies depending on whether you're single, married filing jointly, or head of household. The aim is to create a more equitable tax system, but it does add an extra layer of complexity. And let's not forget about the child tax credit. In 2023, the credit was refundable up to a certain amount and phased out for higher income earners. Now, in 2024, the credit is fully refundable, and the phase-out thresholds have been increased. This means more families can benefit from the credit, putting more money back into their pockets. Lastly, let's talk about the capital gains tax. Previously, long-term capital gains were taxed at a maximum rate of 20%, but in 2024, the rate has been bumped up to 25%. So, as you can see, the 2024 tax laws have undergone some major renovations. From the introduction of an additional tax bracket to changes in standard deductions, child tax credits, and capital gains tax, the landscape of taxation looks quite different from what we were used to. You might be wondering, how do these changes impact you? Well, buckle up because we're about to dive into that next. It's time to find out how the 2024 tax changes might affect your wallet. Just when you thought you had your tax situation all figured out, the new year comes rolling in with a fresh set of tax changes that could shake things up. But don't panic just yet. Let's break it down and see how these changes might play out for different income groups. Let's start with the folks at the lower end of the income spectrum. If you're in this group, you might be breathing a sigh of relief. The tax changes for 2024 are leaning in your favor, with an increase in the standard deduction and an expansion of the earned income tax credit. This means that you could potentially have less taxable income and more money in your pocket at the end of the day. But what about those in the middle income bracket? Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. While the standard deduction has increased, there are changes to itemized deductions that could potentially limit your ability to reduce your taxable income. Remember that home office deduction you've been banking on? It might not be as beneficial as it once was. Now, let's talk about the high-income earners. If you're in this group, you might be feeling a bit anxious. The tax changes this year include an increase in the top marginal tax rate, meaning you could be handing over a larger chunk of your income to Uncle Sam. It might be time to start looking at tax-efficient investment strategies to soften the blow. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are also changes to the capital gains tax that could provide some relief, particularly if you've been savvy with your investments. So, what's the bottom line? The 2024 tax changes could bring both challenges and opportunities depending on your income group. It's important to understand these changes and consider how they might impact your personal financial situation. Feeling a bit concerned? Here are some tips to help you navigate these changes. Navigating through the tax labyrinth might seem daunting, but with the right advice, it becomes a walk in the park. Let's dive into some tips that will help you smoothly sail through the tax changes of 2024. First off, familiarize yourself with the changes. The tax code is like a book with a new edition every year. This year, the chapters have been rearranged, and some new ones have been added. So, get yourself a copy, or better yet, consult a tax expert to help you understand the new plot. One significant change this year is the altered tax brackets. They've shuffled around a bit like musical chairs. Make sure you know which chair you're supposed to sit on. This will help you plan your financial year better and avoid any end-of-year surprises. Another game changer is the increased standard deduction. It's like a free pass, a part of your income that the taxman can't touch. And this year, the free pass got bigger. So calculate if taking the standard deduction makes more sense for you now. Also, keep an eye on the revised tax credits. They're like the golden tickets of the tax world. Some have been increased, others have been introduced. So make sure to check if you qualify for any. Now let's talk about retirement contributions. In 2024, the limit for contributions has increased. So if you're saving for a sunny retirement on a beach, you might want to consider upping your contributions to your retirement fund. Lastly, adjust your withholdings. You don't want to lend Uncle Sam too much money throughout the year, do you? So, make sure your W-4 form reflects your current financial situation. Remember, tax planning is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. So keep yourself updated and stay proactive. With these tips, you're now ready to take on the 2024 tax changes head-on.